All right, members of the Power Playbook community, we've made it to the final lesson of the fitness series from stage 3 of the Power Playbook community, titled "Fix Your Body." Today's lesson, final one for this sector. We're just going to be going over some final remarks and a reminder of how to act and what we've learned so far. The reason I included this is because I found that in my experience in trying to teach people these subjects, it can be overwhelming to know so much, to be taught so much, and to know so much about nutrition, how to implement that, hydration. Then you got to sleep. Then you got to weight train properly. You got to make time for the gym. You got to do stuff. Can't forget about cardio. Can't forget about mobility stuff. And there's so many muscle groups. What do I do? How am I going to make sure I get this all done? So now that you are a little bit separated, because I assume a lot of you aren't watching all 4 or 5 hours of content for this stage at once. We're a little bit separated from our previous lessons. We've gotten all the content we need to start making good habits for ourselves, to start somewhere. Let's take it all back into one slide deck that's only a few slides long. Let's recap what we've learned just real quickly, just like the subjects. Let's think of our next steps, and then let's move on from there. So, with that said, let's move on. Here's what we've covered. In a series of 10 lessons, like I said, about 4 or 5 hours of content, we've discussed how to set goals and how to get your mind in the right mindset to be achieving, to be getting yourself in the gym, to be understanding of the fact that this is not a quick process. You're not gonna, just like you won't get rich overnight, you won't get super shredded and ripped overnight, or whatever it is. You won't get better at the sport you want to play. You won't get better at being there for your children functionally, right? So that we talked about mindset, right? We talked about goal setting. We talked about the fact that you've got to figure out what your objective is and then use that to set your goals. We talked about SMART goals, and then we kind of moved into nutrition. We talked about the essential nutrients that your body needs, runs off of, right? We talked about macronutrients, carbs, fat, protein. We talked about micro, vitamins and minerals. We talked about some foods that have those in them. We talked about how to make sure you're getting enough of that in your routine. We talked about how it's essential that you eat well, because that's the way that your body, moves, right? That's the fuel for your body, if we want to talk about it as an engine. We talked about some essential training activities after nutrition, looking into body weight training to begin with as a basis, not something you got to go super in depth on, but as a basis for weight training. We talked about cardio, working on your mobility, stretching with strength applied is mobility, right? So we talked about how to actually do the work that's going to get us closer to our goals. We talked about the actual training possibilities, potential for regimens. We talked about how to put one together for yourself. And then we talked about how rest and recovery is absolutely vital for any of this to matter at all, right? You can train as hard as you want. You can push yourself past your limits. You can eat well. And that'll do you some good, but it won't do you the maximum amount of good that you could be realizing if you were prioritizing your rest and recovery. So we talked about how you got to sleep well. We talked about some ways to ensure you're sleeping better. We talked about how muscles don't grow in the gym, they grow while you're sleeping. We talked about how it's important for you to plan out the rest days just like you would plan out any other activity, and as well as your nutrition. Then we talked about tracking progress, avoiding plateaus. We talked about how you actually need to, with pen and paper or with an Excel sheet or something, have your routine, and then have, preferably in the same spot, a way to track what it is you're doing. We talked about tracking, exactly down, like as specific as possible in all things you track, right? And you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to say, oh, I did, in this repetition of this set of this exercise of this workout, I felt like this. It's like, just write down what it is you're doing. Write down, hey, I'm going to plan for 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions on bench. I'm going to move to some flies. I'm going to move some tricep stuff, and just keep that as a tracking thing. So part of the plan, actually, part of developing a plan for yourself could be essentially tracking your progress, because at least you have written down somewhere what you did. So that way you can look back at it and say, yeah, this worked good for me. I like that. This was effective for my development. But also part of tracking progress is write down, how you feel strength wise, right? So if you notice like within a month you're kind of the same strength, but into the next month you're like, wow, the stuff I've been doing is getting easier. By tracking progress, you can know that for a fact. You can know, you can kind of, I guess you would know anyways, but it's a reminder for yourself. Say, hey, I got to focus on progressive overload. We learned that in the Fix Your Body section of the Power Playbook community. Anthony taught me you can't just continue lifting the same weight that once it becomes easier for you. You got to advance as you become more advanced, right? So that's what we covered in just a few points. Pretty much those are the main points. We had a lot of discussion, but obviously, just to recap, that's what we've learned. What are you going to do about it? If you haven't been step by step as you've gone through each lesson, doing the thing that we taught you, or at least researching some more about it, or doing anything about it really, what you're going to do next is you're going to go in order. You're going to you're going to identify your objective, set your goal. You're going to equip yourself. If you don't currently have a gym membership, you're going to go get one. You're going to, drive on and walk on over to your nearest local gym. Doesn't have to be anything fancy or crazy, or, just start going to one that you already have access to. You're going to go and make sure that next time you buy groceries, whether it's for your family or you just live by yourself, or if you are under somebody else's household that currently buys the food, have a discussion with them and say, hey, and this could be beneficial for them as well. Say, hey, I'm in this community right now. We're learning how to properly give ourselves the nutrition we need. And I feel like, and I know for a fact based off my training, that both of our abilities would be improved. Both of our health would be we would both benefit health-wise from buying better quality food, as well as in order for me to achieve my goals, I need this. I would appreciate if I can go with you and we can look at getting some higher protein content stuff. It can be an open conversation. And if you're living with somebody that you have to, I'm just saying generally, they'll be open to this concept if they're the one providing your food for you. Obviously, they love you enough to do that, or they care about you enough to do that. So I'm sure they'll care enough about the fact that you are trying to achieve a certain goal, and you got to be eating well for that. So the next thing, you're going to equip yourself with an ability to work out, get you the right food, whatever equipment you need. That kind of goes into the membership thing. But equipment could be as simple as, I have my protein shake right here. Go get you a bottle. If that's what you're going to do, if you're going to supplement that. Go get you a big water bottle like I have over here. Keep yourself hydrated. And then also equip yourself time-wise, right? So if you need to alter your schedule a little bit and you have the flexibility to do so to ensure that you're taking care of your fitness, then do it. Next thing you're going to do is formulate a routine. You're going to include all of the requirements that we taught you about as far as weight training, right? What examples being, you want to make sure you're hitting every muscle group once a week. You want to be incorporating your cardio. You want to work mobility, active rest days. You don't want to just slack off when you're resting. I mean, it's okay every once in a while to actually not do anything on a rest day, especially if you're busy that day, if you're traveling. Sometimes if I know I'll be on a plane for a long time or I'll be taking a whole day to travel, and I won't even have access to a gym anyways. Sometimes I'll make that my rest day, and that's okay. It happens sometimes, right? That's just life. But formulate a routine. Include all of the pillars. Write down exactly what it is you're going to do. Write down how you're going to do it. Write down what food you're going to eat. Be as specific as you can. Set it up in a, check the box kind of format, because that's the easiest for you to follow. It's far easier than just thinking in your mind, I got to get this kind of stuff done, than it is to just, it's less easy to do that than it is to just have it written down somewhere so you can actively look at it and see, this is what I got to do next, right? No matter what, though, in any of those endeavors, as it pertains to the main one, which is fitness, getting yourself in a better shape, you need to start with something. And what you're going to realize is, if you start with something, but you don't exactly have the time or the knowledge, you should be well equipped knowledge-wise to start, putting some good habits for yourself after taking this course. But you just need to start somewhere. So if you can just, you don't feel you feel like you know enough to start. You don't see yourself being an expert by any means. Start somewhere. Make a routine for yourself. Get in the gym. Do the exercises we taught you about. And what you'll notice is you'll start to meet more people through the gym. You'll start to, your content on your Instagram, your algorithm is going to change. You start liking posts that are about the gym. You'll just start learning more. It's a snowball effect. And eventually, a year down the road, you can look back and be like, wow, I've actually learned so much about this concept. And it's because I started with this small thing. I started just going to the gym a few times a week. So do yourself a favor and just start. Even if it's a daunting task for you, even if it seems like, I just can't see myself making it, and I just can't see myself sticking to this for that long. Just try. Just do something. It'll snowball, I promise. That's also the point of the community, right? Is like we're trying to build up off of each other. So utilize that as well. Dedicate yourself to betterment. This is going to be, like I said, this is going to be an endeavor that takes time, and it might take you months to see some results, or at least the results you want. It might take years. It might take, it might take a decade for you to get to a point where you're like, where it's just become like a lifestyle thing, and like you don't have to think about this anymore. Generally, if you have no experience, you will see results within a year. You will see results in like months, right? You're going to see that you have more endurance capability. You'll start losing weight. But to get to a point where you actually want to be, it's less important to think about how quick can I get there, and it's more important to think about, am I doing everything I can each day to make sure I will get there eventually. So dedicate yourself. Keep track of what you're doing. Don't fall into this habit of you kind of just let the tracking thing slide, and because that's another thing about dedicating yourself to it, is like, if you have, once again, I'll just talk about it. If you have it written down, if you have it in front of you all the time, if you're keeping track actively of what it is you're getting done, that's just it's going to form a habit of self-discipline, and that's what you need to get through this. You need the discipline to get through the days that suck, so that you can enjoy the ones that don't. You can enjoy one day seeing the results of your work. And what you'll notice going forward, we haven't really talked about this yet, but there are some things you're going to notice, right? As you start off in your guys' fitness endeavors and your journeys, what you're going to notice is you are far more capable of what you currently believe you are. So what I mean by this is, it's an proven fact that humans tend to underestimate their ability in most things. And it's kind of, if you think about it logically, that makes sense, right? Because you don't want to, males sometimes tend to overestimate, but in general, sometimes, like when we're trying something new, we like to start out small. We like to instinctively think that we are worse at it than we might be, because that keeps us from being hurt, right? That keeps us from, suffering in some way, or one form or another, right? But what you'll find out is, once you start doing things, you might not have ever seen yourself as somebody that was a fitness guy, right? But you'll notice, like, hey, I'm actually capable of this. Like, my body is responding well. It's doing, I feel greater than I ever have, and I look better. I'm here more. I'm more available, like, in the time that I'm home for my children, because like I have more energy from this, from working out, from eating better, and it's going to equate basically to you're going to find out that you actually had more potential, you're more capable than you thought you were. And then also, you're going to notice too that results directly correlate to your effort. You can't just have this awesome idea in your head that you're going to be fit because you wrote it down and because you thought about it. You still got to act. And I talk a lot about writing it down, but that's only an idea until you've actually done the thing, and then it's in an actual action, right? So you got to put the work in if you want to see some results out of it. And the more work you put in, the more results you're going to get. It won't happen fast, but an important note that I wrote down there for you guys is, nothing worth your time does. Nothing good comes easy. I mean, it's very rare, few and far between, for like a lottery kind of situation where you just all of a sudden you just get this large sum of money, and it's like, wow, I did nothing for this. That's an example. I'm not saying this is not about money. This is about, in life generally, the things that matter the most for you take the most work. So if you think about your body, like the body that you live in, and you will for the rest of your life, and if you want it to be longer, you need to be fit. That's just the way you're built. We talked about that in the first lesson, right? You need to invest in yourself. You need to invest in keeping yourself fit, eating well, resting, things like that. But it won't happen fast. So it'll take time, but that's all right, because all you have is time, and you're effectively elongating your time by making the most of it in the moment. Some days may pose bigger challenges, but you need to attack them aggressively, okay? So some days you're going to wake up, I mean, you'll feel good. And if on one day you're going to wake up and go to the gym, and you're going to get in the gym, and it's going to be like, wow, like I feel so weak. I can't even lift the same weight I did last week. Something happened. I didn't sleep very well last night. Or sometimes it just happens for no reason. And it's hard to explain. There's always some sort of cause, but it's hard to explain sometimes. When you reach that point, that is not a time for you to quit. That is not a time for, once you get to the gym and you realize you don't feel great, or even if you haven't gone to the gym yet, you wake up and you're like, man, I'm supposed to hit back today, but I just don't feel the greatest. But I know that I have a rest day scheduled in a few days because I'm doing something else. Maybe I can just take an extra rest day this week. I promise you, unless you are like injured, I promise, or you're sick, I promise you, you will benefit from going anyways. Because doing things for the sake of their own difficulty builds your ability to continue to do hard things. It builds your tolerance. It's just like, people that drink a lot of caffeine, they build a caffeine tolerance. So it's like eventually you have to drink more and more and more caffeine to achieve the same feeling of drinking what you used to at a smaller dose. Same thing for doing things for the sake of their difficulty. I'm a huge advocate for that. Gym and outside of the gym, any chance I can like take something that's going to add maybe a little bit more stress to my life, or maybe a little bit more time consuming for me. But I know I'm going to grow from doing it. I do it immediately. Or even if I don't grow from it, like just taking a cold shower every once in a while, or hopping in that cold plunge. It's like I like a cold shower. That's I only take like 2 to 5 minute showers anyway. And yes, I do wash myself, but it's like I'm not really gaining a whole lot from taking a cold shower, other than like it wakes me up. So why do I do it? It's just because it's difficult, right? It's something I'm proving to myself that I can do something difficult, even if my natural inclination is not to do it. So apply that to the gym. Do the things that are hard. Get in the gym and push yourself. Add intensity to your workout. What I mean by that is go until you can't. Like when we talked about the weight training, we talked weight training in the weight training lesson. When I was telling you about the ideal for hypertrophy is like you are incapable of lifting more of doing another repetition somewhere between 8 and 12 repetitions. That literally means like if I do one more, I'm not going to be able to do it because I've worked so hard in those 8 to 12 repetitions with whatever weight is required for that to be difficult for me. I've worked so hard doing that I can't move forward. And I'm not saying go like kill yourselves. I'm not saying go destroy yourselves in the gym. I'm saying go push yourselves. And if you are sore because of it, do it because it's difficult. I mean, it's just a great way to it's a great way to develop yourself and develop your ability to then take on things outside of the gym where it's like, I've been meaning to start this business and I just haven't been doing it because it's difficult. And it's like, oh, I got to go form this LLC. I got to form the website. Do it because it's difficult. Do it for the sake of doing things because they're difficult. I promise you'll develop from that. So I think, we'll talk about, before we set you free, before we move on to the next stage of the Power Playbook community, I just want you to remember, you owe being fit to yourself first and foremost, but you also owe it to others. Especially if you're a family man. I have a wife, and I'm planning to have children here in the coming years. They're counting on you to be the provider, to be a person that is there should there be something that goes wrong and they need to be taken care of. That's you, okay? And if you are not fit, if you are not able, just like that video we watched at the very first beginning, of the woman who was incapable of picking up her child as it was rolling in a stroller down into the street. Somebody else had to run in and save him. You have that obligation. It's like you. There's just no excuse for you to not be fit, assuming you are otherwise healthy, when you can just get in there and get it done, right? And you owe it to yourself first and foremost, but be someone that other people can count on should they need to, is what I'm trying to say. And this is my favorite quote. I told you that in the first lesson, but I'm going to bring it up again because I just think it just points exactly to why this is applicable to everybody and not just those that are interested in it. But no man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable, said by Socrates, famous philosopher. And it's 100% true. Your body is capable of unimaginable amounts of beauty and strength that right now you might not be able to realize, but I promise you, you will the longer you work at it. So with that, this is the conclusion of our 10-lesson series of fitness in the third stage of the Power Playbook community. Take this in application with the previous 2 stages. Move forward into the next stage. Move forward into the community to take the knowledge that you know, apply it, share your wins, share your struggles. This is a community effort. Like, we're trying to grow together. This is a free resource. So it's not like you have anything to lose. This is just information that me and Caleb, the creators of this course, are just trying to share to better as many people as we can reach, right? So as far as fitness is concerned, get out there, get your regimen set up. If you have, questions about that, about what it might look like for you, how to apply it specifically to your life, reach out, use the chat functions. I mean, obviously me and Caleb are watching this all the time. So Get in there, be a part of the community, get yourself fit, and we will see you around.